Hey everyone, I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and I am so excited that you're here today to learn how to launch with Win by Noon, or for a refresher, if you're a Win by Noon devotee who just wants a little bit of brushing up. This is going to be all about you. So the chat is open, maybe the Q&A is open, but chat's probably the easiest way. So let's just start off with this. I've got a lot of people registered from different types of businesses. So if you could maybe go in the chat real quick and let me know, loan officer, real estate agent, financial advisor, insurance agent, or other, whatever it is that you do, that would be great. I'm going to talk to all of you. Don't worry, but it's just nice to know who is here. And then just know that me having you do this also will allow you to know where the chat is so you can ask me questions as we go. Now you'll find that if I'm talking to you, I have to look over here at the chat. That's a little distracting sometimes. So I may pause if I see a bunch of stuff pop up, but let me know your questions in here. I may ignore them for a bit if it's something I'm going to cover upcoming, or I'll talk about it. And then just know at the end, we will have time for Q&A. We should be done in 45 to 60 minutes, unless you guys have lots of questions. Then, we will go over slightly for that. I am recording this. It will be up on the Win by Noon YouTube channel by tomorrow afternoon. So you can watch it again if it's that good or that confusing, or both. And just super appreciative to have you as part of our community. To me, it's super exciting for me to have the opportunity. It's my favorite class to teach. I should teach it more often. And I'm seeing a lot of friendly people. Even my good friend, Deborah Bird from Plug and Play SM is here. Deborah, man, that puts a smile on my face. Don't you have anything better to do? Just kidding. Super excited that you are here. So a couple of reminders, a couple of ground rules, and a couple of things to think about. So number one is winbynoon.com/calendar. That is where you'll start seeing upcoming classes. I'm committed in 2022 to be better at a couple of things. One is to plan more classes, and more importantly, plan them further in advance and then get them on the calendar. So you will see on the calendar that you can register for any upcoming webinars and other things. I'm going to be doing a lot of these going forward. My goal is probably 2 webinars a week. Every Monday at noon Pacific time, I'm just doing what I call a Win by Noon webinar. Eventually, I'll come up with some fancy name. So if you have a fancy name, you can put it over there in the Zoom chat. But right now, it's really going to be focused around doing a CMA a day and a TCA a day, right? Comparative market analysis for you realtors, total cost analysis, annual mortgage reviews for you loan officers. That's going to be the underlying theme, but like the one I just did on Monday was how to master your daily plan. And I just did that based off of feedback from some of you, some of the users of Win by Noon. And so be on the lookout for that. And then if you're a loan officer, I'm really excited. Next Wednesday at noon Pacific in this time slot, I will be teaching the top 3 ideas to grow and thrive in 2022. And it's going to be geared towards, just like this is geared towards new Win by Noon users, it's going to be geared towards new loan officers. However, they're tried and true principles for any loan officers trying to transition out of a refinance world into a purchase market in 2022. So I'm super excited about that webinar as well. And today I'm going to, like I said, my goal is to talk, right? I'm going to talk to you guys about the planner versus have a big PowerPoint and hide behind it. And really make sure that you get off of the time that we have together, regardless of whether you're brand new or experienced, of thinking, okay, I've got a little clear idea of what I need to do in order to be prepared. I was ironically just talking to some real estate agent friends of mine before this on Zoom, and we got off on this Win by Noon tangent. And so it was actually really good for me to hear from them. It was a husband and wife who communicate differently, operate differently. And, having one say, well, this doesn't make sense to me, and this makes sense to me. And that it'll help me do a better job of explaining it to all of you diverse folks who are here. And so there is, all right, some great stuff, getting some wisdom here. All right. Someone's asking about referring someone to get the planner. So right now you just go to winbynoon.com for them to get a planner. If you're interested, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but one of my projects, in fact, my number one Win by Noon project I'm working on right now is an affiliate program. And so if that's something that you're interested in, just email me, todd@winbynoon.com. Once it actually comes out, it'll be out by the end of the first quarter. Then you'll all know about it, because I'll talk about it. But no one's going to get rich and retire off of a Win by Noon affiliate program. But you will be able to, I'm viewing it kind of as an accountability thing, right? If you're getting a nickel or something like that from someone buying a planner, then maybe you're going to go after and make sure that you hold them accountable. So let's talk about this. So you guys have a Win by Noon planner in front of you. Now, you're a Win by Noon planner. or maybe it's in the mail. I don't know which one. Yours could be a dated planner. So this is my planner. You can see it's got some fancy stickers on it. Ooh, that's, one of my favorite things is customizing. A few less stickers than the last one. So you may have an edition that has your field and the quarter on it, and that one would be dated on the inside. Or you may be brand new and you brand new users got the launch edition. The launch edition has the instructions built into it. They're very detailed. My wife helped me with those, and she's much more detailed than I am. And it's great instructions to go back to. And you'll notice yours isn't dated. So you're going to have to actually spend the extra energy, and you're going to have to write the date in every day. And this will last you through the quarter, and then you will get a dated edition going forward with your subscription. So as you jump in here, the same guts are in all of them. And some of you are probably looking at the real estate agent version. Some are looking at the executive or the loan officer version, or the insurance agent version. And just know they all look about the same. And I'll kind of hit on all of them in there, and just stop me if you have any questions. So a couple of things that would be important. People have to remember that there's no perfect way to do Win by Noon. And Win by Noon is designed around around how I did Win by Noon, right? So I had this thing called a planner, and this is my planner. I created a group coaching program for loan officers, and it had these little forms that I created, and I shrunk them down. They were a big 8.5 by 11. I shrunk them down, and I actually taped them into my planner. I just happen to have it here. So literally this was my little planner, and I taped them in there, and it has my calendar in there. And it was designed for how I did business. But as I was talking and coaching other people, they said, gosh, if I had that, Todd, I could actually be more efficient and do more stuff. And that's how Win by Noon came around. And as Win by Noon came around, people were like, hey, Todd, this really sucks. You should think about changing this. Or more often they said, hey, it would be really cool if you added this in there. Like, hey, I see the real estate agent edition has handwritten notes. Would you add that to the loan officer edition? And so 90% of what's in there is what I did. And 10% is, or more maybe, is from all of you and users like you who've given me feedback. So we love feedback on there. And that's why there's no perfect way to use the planner. I don't know anyone who uses 100% of everything in there. So first off, I just want you to understand is your job is to own it for you, right? It's just that, it's a day planner. And I find as a day planner, people tell me who use it to plan their activities and do their to-do lists, say, you know what, I do more business, right? Some of those people don't even use any of the a recording of activities and tracking of results that I designed the planner to do to really give you the secret sauce insights. But even people who use it as a planner grow their business. I think secondarily, it's a business planning tool. And there's no doubt it's how to create a business plan that tells you today what you need to do to hit your goals at the end of the year, right? I love it. We're in the first week of January and you're all excited. You've set a goal. You hopefully watched the business planning classes that I taught last month. They're up on the YouTube channel if you didn't. And you're like, I'm getting it done. Like, that's my goal. Well, guess what? If we don't have a plan for it, then we're not gonna be able to bridge that gap. There's a great picture. It's in the PowerPoint when I show it later of the ideal week that shows, it's in your launch edition. It shows you standing on the earth, and it shows the little spaceman up on the moon, right? We're going from here to there. We're trying to get you to that goal at the end of the year, which is the moon. And we have to have a plan to do it. And then you have to take that plan and you have to execute it on it every day, right? And some days will be good and some days won't. And then if I didn't quite hit it yesterday, I'll crush it today, right? That's going to be the mindset I want you to have. And the people who use it as a business planning tool grow even more. And then the other thing is it's a philosophy. It's this whole mindset of, you know what? Am I going to let my day own me, or am I going to own my day? Am I going to be proactive, or am I going to be reactive? Am I going to make sure I get my most important priorities done before I get distracted and react to everything else, or am I not going to do that? And that's a whole idea of winning by noon. Now, for me, sometimes I won by 11, sometimes I won by 10:30, sometimes I didn't win till 1 or 2 o'clock. But the bottom line is, the whole point of the philosophy is do your most important priorities first, and then react the rest of the day. Right. So for me, that was all my sales related activities. And then the rest of the day, I could meet with people and talk to people and react and chase down pay stubs and do the things that I had to do as a loan officer at the time in order to grow my business and have it go forward. But I'd gotten all those critical priorities done first. And that's what helped me grow my business 45% in a year. I went from a great number, 400 transactions, $80 million, to 113,551 transactions in a flat market, right? In Phoenix, Arizona, where I do business. The market wasn't any different from one year to the next. What was different was me. I was super focused. I had my calendar blocked from 8:30 to 11:30. Yep, I know win by 11:30 doesn't sound nearly as cool as win by noon. And ultimately, the fact that I was good at doing the things that I told people I did every day, and I did almost every day, right? Have you ever had that where you tell someone, hey, this is how I follow up on leads, but you don't really follow up on leads like that. Not because you don't want to, you have the intention to do it, but just because you got busy, you got distracted, right? You had to go call on that home inspection. You scheduled something at a time where it was best for them, but not best for you. And so that's what we'll walk through. So that's kind of the basics of Win by Noon, kind of what it is. And then I'll walk you through the planner itself. I'll walk you through what I call the ideal week, because I think that that's probably the real center of what you need to know in order to execute on the Win by Noon strategy. And then lastly, I'll just walk through some best practices and answer all of your questions. January 13th is National Sticker Day. So good thing. Actually it's in my backpack, but I won't get it. I've got all my old planners from this year. I'm going to be spending some time on an airplane tomorrow. I'll be going through those planners just to make sure that I didn't miss any great notes that I want to actually make sure I execute on in this year. And all my other plans had a lot more stickers, but I decided I looked a little more professional with only a couple of stickers. All right, see distractions. Oh, look, there's a bird. All right, let's get back to you guys. Okay, so I'm going to open up my planner and I'm just going to pick a day. And so I'm just going to work out of mine. So this is a Friday, but it doesn't matter what day it is. So let's just walk through what you've got here. So first off, on this side of the planner is just your calendar. Now, the people I was just talking to, he said, Todd, I've got everything in my Gmail calendar. It tells me what I should be doing and when I should be doing it. I said, hey, that's awesome, right? That's great. I said, well, then maybe you won't want to put stuff into here. But for me personally, I actually put my calendar on here every day. I've actually got my calendar in the planner through next week, because it's really fast. If someone says, hey, Todd, can you meet me next Tuesday at 1 o'clock? I can flip to that page a lot faster than I can pull out my phone and try to find it. So for me, I like looking at the visual calendar. It's also sitting here on my desk next to me while I'm working. It's reminding me, what do I have to do next? Okay, I can look at my computer. It's 1:13 my time. Okay, great. I got this blocked off till 2 o'clock. So you don't have to use the calendar part, but I use it because it's visual and it shows me what to do. It also tells me when I'm going to write in there, dial, right? Write in there, react. It's a reminder to myself to make sure I'm doing the most important things that I'm supposed to be doing. But if you want to live off your calendar, do that too. I would say the other way I've seen people do it is they have that calendar with everything that they're supposed to do, and then they actually record what they actually did in the planner. So they can say, okay, I was going to lead generate for 2 hours a day. I've got a big real estate team here in the Valley that does that. They dial as a group every day for 2 hours. And so the team writes in there that team leader says, okay, I lead generated for my 2 hours, but what if he didn't? What if he had to go to a home inspection or the dentist or whatever it is? Then he's using that as his accountability to himself. Just one other way to use it. All right, at the top, we got top 3 and we got gratitudes, okay? I don't need to hold it up for too long because you should be looking at your planner. Top 3 is going to be you're going to do that one of 2 ways. Top 3 is what all the productivity gurus who wrote all these books behind me, they would all tell you that should be the top 3 things in your role. So your role could be, you could be a branch manager of a real estate branch, and your number 1 goal is recruiting. And then your other top priority is agent coaching. And then your third priority could be you do some transactions, so it's client consultation, right? Whatever your top 3 things. So if you were looking at Darren Hardy with the compound effect, Darren would say that should be your vital 3. Every day you want to write that there. So when you look at it, you can remind yourself, what are my most important activities? That's why I originally put it in there. But guess what? Most people don't use it that way. Most people use it as, what are my top 3 things I have to do today? I want to make sure I get the Smiths out there and show them their house. I got a new, I got to get my insurance policy binders for review out to the Jones family. Hey, I've got to get the loan application from, the Bird family. Whatever that is that you've got to do, that's how I see most people use it. I use it kind of as a combination of both. Mine actually says in it, depends on the day. But every day mine's kind of a rec. See, I'll show you guys mine. Here you go. Here's a perfect, really big rec of a day, Monday. Mine says BWC, be world class. So that's I got one thing I care about right now. It's be world class. It encapsulates a lot to me. And then some days next to it, I haven't done it yet this year, but it'll say what are those 3 things I have to do. It might be, something my wife told me I had to do. It might be something I committed for a team member or to a Win by Noon user, and it'll get in there. And so just know that's the way it works. What am I grateful for? Again, we all know if we wake up in gratitude, we're going to have a whole lot better day, right? There's tons of studies on the positivity effects of gratitude. All I would encourage you to do is pick 3 different things every day. So I'm grateful for my family every day, but I try to pick something specific that I did with a family member, a conversation I had, an activity we did. And then I try to write that next to it, right? Try to be specific, right? Specificity matters. And it should be important to you. And I will say, I'm going to get ahead of myself. But at the other end, on the second page, front page, back page of the planner, there's this thing at the very bottom here, and it says highs of my day. And so that came to me, that's my bookend gratitude. That's really what was the best part of my day. So that's my end of the day. And transparently, I don't fill it out sometimes till the end of the morning. Sometimes if it's 8 o'clock at night and I didn't put it in there yet, I don't want to open my planner and get my head distracted by business, something I did or didn't do. So I might just do it next day when I'm setting up my planner. But I just go back in there every day. What was the high of my day? To me, it's kind of fun to go back and look and say, oh gosh, you know what we watched? Whatever, season 41 of Survivor, just finished 41 seasons with Giselle in the pandemic and 30 seasons of Amazing Race. A little mind-boggling, but ultimately the highs of my day, and we do it because I learned it from Daniel Harkavy, who's the CEO of Building Champions and a good friend. And they play a game called High Low at dinner. They call it low high. I call it high low because I'm an optimist. The glass is half full. And I just like, what were the highs of my day? So we go around in the family and we talk about that all the time. All right. So here's where it gets hard. So stick with me. This is the heavy lifting, is we got these boxes here, right? And so again, depending on what your planner is, it'll tell you what it is. And so this one's a loan officer planner. So let me just tell you what that has. All of them typically have lead and client calls. The real estate agent one, you guys will have database calls. And then you have partner and partner prospect calls, right? And so really in the end, you'll see there, it's got, it was originally designed where we just did an X. We kind of lumped them all together. And you can decide how nerdy you want to be. I would encourage you to be nerdy from the start. So if I'm a loan officer and I've got a choice of a lead call is someone that you haven't gotten an application from. If you're a real estate agent, a lead call is someone that you haven't gotten to commit to work with you yet, right? A client call, that's someone who you're actually already working with. They've committed to work with you. Could be a past client. For realtors, we separated that out. We called it a database call because you guys work your database really well. You're really good at that. And so we want to make sure that that's part of what you do. I don't know of any real estate program that doesn't talk to you about nurturing your database and making those dials. And so we want to figure out how many of those dials is it going to take, right? If I want a closed transaction at the end of the year, how many clients that I have to talk to, how many leads I have to talk to, how many people in my database I have to talk to. Then we also got referral and partners and prospect partners that we're gonna follow up. And so you're gonna look at those and you'll be able to check those off, or just write in there L, C, D for database, right? All those things that you would want to put in there. And then we also separate that out for buyers and sellers for you real estate agents. Again, I think it's kind of nice if you have a business that's one way tilted. That's the right word. I don't think tilt is the right word. Whatever. It bobs between the others. So, and so so again, you're gonna be recording these activities now. This is going to be a dial or a text. Someone asked me that if it can be an email. I don't really think so. There's very few times where I email back and forth and having kind of a conversation, but I'll text someone back and forth, for 5 minutes or throughout the day and have a conversation. It's really anytime you're talking to someone. Now, you real estate agents, I don't view, we get to the next one, quality conversation. So the boxes at the top are outbound texts, outbound calls. Now, some of you are saying, well, but I do mass text and I do mass dialing. And that's mainly for the real estate agents. So you guys who are loan officers, you wouldn't know this, but there's actually prospecting time in the bottom here as an activity for real estate agents. That's what my real estate agents who have the dialer on their head and dial for an hour or 2 or 3 hours a day, they're recording the activity of their dialing time. Versus you loan officers who are doing individual dials. If you're sending out a blast text, you know what, I'm not personally going to count that. You can count that, just track it separately and be consistent, but that's all outbound, right? So that the top part's all outbound. Then the middle part is quality conversations. So that's where I actually got something across. So this is where you realtors might have a challenge with me. I've been through a lot of real estate training. I'm Bold for you Keller Williams folks. And in Bold, you have this thing called the Bold 100, which I wasn't cool enough to do, but Deborah, who's on this call, she did it. So, because she's a rock star. And that's a contact. So in the real estate world, a lot of those coaching programs will be a contact is like, Mr. Smith answers the phone. They say, hello. And they say, hey, I just sold the house at 123, North Central. And I've got way more buyers than I have houses. Are you or anyone thinking about buying or selling a home? The person goes, click. They call that a contact. This is called quality conversation for a reason. I really want to know how many people I have to actually talk to, like who do I have to converse with, give them an update on their home inspection, give them an update on their appraisal, tell them what's next in the process, and how many people I have to actually talk to. So we have how many people I have to dial or text out to, and how many people I actually have a conversation with via text or the phone. That's the progression. There's also live meetings, right? Live meetings could be just what I just got off of. I was on a Zoom call, right? So Zoom is certainly live meetings these days, or like face-to-face, shaking people's hands in a room. And so I kind of personally bunch mine together into all my dials outbound, and then all my connections, which I would add together because of COVID. I've been adding together calls and meetings live in Zoom. You don't have to do that. You can keep it all separate. It just depends on your business, right? Someone who, if you're a real estate agent who sits a lot of open houses, you're gonna have a lot more live meetings than a real estate agent who's working out of an office, dialing the phone and just taking out a few folks. If you're a loan officer who sits in a real estate office, you're gonna have a lot more live meetings than a loan officer who just sitting in their office or working from their home office and dialing all day. And so the key here is to try to figure out, well, what activity do I have to do to get the end result that I want? How many dials or conversations or connections do I have to have today to hit my closed loan, my closed home, family served goal at the end of the year? And that's, to me, is if that excites you, like if you know you can sit down. So I've been consulting with loan officers the past couple of weeks, looking at their year-end numbers, and I definitely saw a shift. And so again, hear me out on this one as we kind of go over, and this is where I just get super nerdy about it. But the shift is the first half of the year, they would take about 20 to 25 dials or conversations to get to a closed loan. And then they noticed the second half of the year that it was actually closer to 30, like 25 to 30 calls or conversations to get to a closed loan. And the loan officers who figured that out, because they were recording activities, looking at their conversion rates, and then tracking their results, mid-year were like, the market is shifting away from refinances, more to purchases. And they were able to up the activity to make sure they still hit their goal at the end of the year. Because if you kept making 20 calls or 20, whatever your number was, calls, expecting to get that same number of closed transactions at the end of the year, you fell short. If you caught it mid-year as it was happening, you were able to still hit your goal for the year, which was hard for a lot of LOs because they were burned out. And the same thing applies to you, whether you're in real estate, financial planning, insurance, whatever else it is figuring out what are the activities I have to do. Like how many calls do I have to make to get a buyer appointment? How many buyer appointments do I have to get a closed transaction? And to me, if I can figure out how much money I'm making, how many families I'm serving every time I pick up the phone, then I can set that goal. Because ultimately in the end, let's pretend it takes you 20 calls to get a closed transaction and you want to close 10 transactions. That means you have to make 200 calls throughout the whole year. And you divide that out in days, it's probably one call a day. Well, I'm thinking if you're that good at selling, you probably have a bigger goal than that. But ultimately, that's what Win by Noon will walk you through as we get further down the road. So today we're just looking at what you've got on here. Now, the next thing you have on here is the leads. Again, your lead should be in your CRM, but if you don't have one or you're not good at using it, you're going to put your lead in here. It's got a couple of check boxes here. These check boxes are for whatever you want them for. It could be for check, I put it into my CRM. Check, I sent them a thank you note. Check, I sent the referrer a thank you note. Or it could just be a big old cross off with an X. I'm really into highlighting right now. And so if you looked in my planner, if I got a lead, so I've got 3 planners open here, the real estate agent. If you look at my planner and I got a lead, you can see it would be all crossed out. See all the highlighting down there. So that's how it would look in my personal world. Next is all the totals at the bottom, right? So all your activities. And again, I'm not going to go through each activity on here because you guys are all from different things, but ultimately the first parts are all the things from the top. And then the bottom part has stuff that is different. And then there's even a blank one for you to put stuff in there. So like my team just opened up an insurance agency. If anyone's interested in learning about that, just reach out to me. I'm happy to tell you about it. But my goal is to refer one person every day to the insurance agency. So guess what? That's what I'm recording right here as an activity. Did I do it? So every day I look at it, did I hit my goal? Yes or no? And so that would be something else. A lot of realtors door knock and me, I'm not that friendly. So some track their door knocking here, whatever that activity is you want to track, it's there. You also have the same thing over here for results. I would say a couple of things that really matter is, again, they're in the instructions, it tells you all these things. All the time people say, I've been using this for 3 years. I don't know what this means. RE, real estate review, right? Annual mortgage review, CMA, I mentioned it up front. You should be doing those every day. So you should set a goal for yourself and you should be doing that. In the loan officer edition, TCA, total cost analysis, the world's greatest tool. If you're a loan officer and you're not using it, I would encourage you to go to mortgagecoach.com and check it out. But that is tracked over there. And then you'll see, again, you get the result activities that you're after. And there may be some other result that you want to look at, that you want to record. And so we've got you some blanks in there. And again, best practice, total it every day. Why should total every day? Because you need to total every week. And if you total it every day, it's a whole lot faster at the end of the week to total it by looking up your totals versus having to go through and retotal it. Now, talk about accountability for a second. My team, because we've been doing this before Win by Noon existed, and we used it on these little goofy things that I made and printed out that are all shrunk down in my old planner. My team actually gives their numbers every day on the phone. So at 8:45, my business partner hops on and everyone reports out their numbers. And what's great about that is it forces everyone to add up their numbers. And so, maybe you can find somebody where you can text them your numbers every day, or at least every week, right? Mondays, my team gives the numbers from the week before the total. And it forces people to do it. I got tired of talking about myself to everybody. And I tried when I was leading the team myself to cancel it. Like, let's just do it 2 or 3 days a week. And you know what? They all said, no, if we don't do it, I won't do it. Right. They wanted to have that accountability. So think about what that might be able to look at for you. Other side of the planner. All right. So I'm looking at quick questions. Are quality conversations only tracked for new business? Do you track conversations with existing clients, transactions, if referrals are discussed? That is a great question. So here's how I personally do it. I personally would, if I'm calling somebody myself, then I'm going to, write the thing in the box, L or C, if it's a leader or client. And so that's it. If they answer the phone and I talk to them, then I'm going to write their name down. Now, it doesn't mean that I might not call the person later in the day, or they might call me back and ask me a question. I'm not going to rewrite it down. If I talk to, Bob in the morning and I talk to Bob in the afternoon, for me personally, that's just one conversation. If I call Bob a second time, I'm only going to call that one dial. Some people call it 2 dials and 2 conversations. However you want to do it, just keep it consistent. I just figured out, if I blew it and didn't tell Bob enough stuff earlier, I should have told him. I told him in the afternoon, I'm just going to count that as one call because I'm trying to make it harder. I want to actually push myself to do more activity so that at the end of the year, I'm actually ahead of my goal, not behind it. And so that, to me, it's any conversation that I have with anyone that's around my business, right? If I call my wife and I'm talking to her about dinner, not a quality conversation. If I call a team member to ask about a loan, not a quality conversation. These are clients and partners all, around loans. It could be a partner prospect, could be a real estate agent that you're going after if you're a loan officer. If you're a real estate agent and you're trying to get a divorce attorney to send you, real estate clients, then that could be a quality conversation. So it's really whoever you talk to. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. This side of the planner, left side is a to-do list. I use the very top of it for my most important priorities, right? So if you look at my to-do list today, it's got 2 things in the top 5 that I want to do first, and then everything else I put down below. And then ironically for me at the very bottom, it's got Michael, who's the insurance agent's name at our branch. And that's for me to, anytime I say, hey, I'll refer you over to him, I write it there and then I highlight it to cross it off once I make the referral. So I'm very strategic about it. And again, same thing as I use my list, it's all highlighted. And then again, I get kind of nerdy about it. If I have it on my to-do list and it's not on my top priority list, so I do my top priorities first, then I do the rest of the stuff. And the rest of the stuff may or may not have to be done today. So if I don't do it today, I'll still highlight it off and then write it on the next day. But I don't highlight it off unless it's written on the next day or it's done. And then again, the to-do list is great. Again, people say just by using the to-do list, they're more efficient and more productive. Notes, it's just that, it's for your notes. These are all the personal things. People are like, why would you put personal stuff in your planner? And because I think it's more about business and life, right? Again, I did the life planning course. It's got really positive reviews. If it's something that piques your interest, of actually do your business plan first. Well, you really should do your life plan first, but we're on a business call. So if you never thought about doing some life planning, it just might be a good weekend watch. It's an hour. You can watch it on double speed, but I talk so fast already, you might not be able to understand me. But it's up on the YouTube channel. On time is a Michael Drucker term. It's time working on my business. I found when I didn't work on my business intentionally, my business got stagnant. It's the time that you're actually used to look at your numbers from Win by Noon and learn from them. If you're not looking backwards at what you did to figure out where you could be better, you're probably not going to get the growth that you're looking for in the future. Social media posts or hours. Well, I would tell you that for me, I was kind of hesitant on this one because I find that so many people get sucked in, right? Oh my gosh, another cat video 6 hours later. And so I think if you're worried about how much time you spend on social media, you should be looking at how many hours am I spending. I'm using it for posts right now. I'm committed to post more frequently, including my Monday Win by Noon quote of the week. Thanks, Deborah Bird from Plug and Play SM. And so I'm recording that activity in here. Handwritten notes, HW notes. Sleep, again, I'm all nerdy, right? I got my Oura ring on my finger and it's tracking my sleep, exercise, morning routine, evening routine. I'll probably do some webinars coming up on morning and evening routines because I'm getting lots of questions on those. And then the other one's blank. Like, what do you want to put in there? And so for me, I'm also tracking the number of webinars I do this year. I kind of want to see, hey, like if I'm doing more webinars, am I impacting more people? And at the very bottom was I proactive or reactive, and did I win before afternoon? And again, those are funny things that we put in there. I just didn't know if people would really be in tune, but they are. And so for you brand new people, all you need to do today, if you haven't started already, is lay out your planner and start filling this thing out as you go. Wake up in the morning, write your calendar in there. If you're like, Todd, that was too much work, then don't do it again. If you're like, Todd, that was great, then keep doing it. For me personally, I set my calendar up on Sundays. I typically wake up before my family's up, drink my coffee, do my morning stuff, and then plug in there, because I don't want to get on my computer too fast, right? If I opened it up to look at my calendar or my phone, guess what? I'd be reading text messages and I'd be looking at dog videos on Facebook, and that wouldn't be good. And so I would encourage you to find some time. It could be Monday morning, right when you get to the office. And then that's where I'm looking at, okay, what's my plan for the week? Let me total up my numbers from last week. Let me look at my conversion rates if it's the end of the month. And so you'll see that as you get to the end of the week, you are going to have, it's the end of the month. Let me just get to the end of a normal week. At the end of the week, you're going to have your weekly review. And so again, it's rating yourself. And I'm not going to go through every one of these, but it's rating yourself, right? Where did I crush it this week? Where did I suck this week? And then it's going to be intentional around your numbers. And so your first week, let's pretend that you just started today. You're only going to have 3 days this week, right? Monday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So all you're going to do is say, okay, I made 30 calls. So I average 10 a day. So I want you for next week to set your goal. You're going to total it up. You're going to say, I made 30 calls. And then you're going to say, well, how was those 10 calls? Did I get the results that I wanted? Did I get leads? Did I get any appointments with buyers or sellers? And then you're going to say, was that enough? And you're like, hey, you know what? I got 2 appointments. That's my goal. Then great. Then next week you're going to take, and you're going to say, I'm going to do 50, right? 10 a day, right? The 10 you average a day out for the 3 days you did it. And then you're going to set that as your goal. And you're going to put that down below as that is my goal for next week. And that's going to be really important, because you want to have a number that you're shooting for. And then for me personally, what would I do if that was my goal? I would then come in here and I would, again, this is how nerdy I am, right? So if my goal is talk to 30 people a day. And so I would be doing, okay, I'm going to call 20 leads and clients. I should be doing it like this. There's 30 dials, and then I'm going to do this. Now, this just tells you right now, I'm not really doing much for live meetings, but I would probably actually do this. I'd cross this and I would say, all right, I'm going to have 30 between live meetings and quality conversations. And that's my goal. And I'm going to put that there as a visual reminder. So yours might be 10 or whatever your number is. But that's my standard. And so if I'm going to set a standard for myself, like I'm a Navy SEAL wanting to kick some ass, then I'm going to write that in there. And that's going to remind me that that's the number I have to do, so that I have a choice at the end of the day. If it's 4 o'clock and I'm 4 calls short of hitting my goal, I've got a decision to make. Well, am I really committed to the standard I set? Or is this just kind of a wish and a dream that I think I need to get there? And I'm all about personal. So maybe it's 5 o'clock and I see it. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to get home, so I want dinner with my family. Then I would do that. But I have other people who are like, okay, at 4 o'clock, I'm going to do a quick assessment, see how I'm doing, and make sure that if I'm 4 short, then I'm figure out who else can I talk to before the day's over, right? Or maybe I'm driving home, I can make 4 more calls and try to talk to 4 more people. And then what I would tell you, if it's your standard, is the next day, if your standard was 10 and you only made 8, the next day I would challenge you to do 12, right? So that you finish your week and you hit your number. What I tend to find is that the people who don't hit their goals are the people who don't spend the time to figure out the activity it takes to get there. The people who don't write their goals down. First off, you have to write your goals down. Then you have to figure out, what do I have to do to get to my goal? And then 3 is you have to be committed to that standard, because if you're not, then it's just not really a goal. It's just a dream or a wish. And you want to make sure that you are committed to it, so that if you're always measuring, right? If you're, 12 months in, 12 months to a year, if you're 1 month in and you're not up to whatever that percentage is, 8% of your 8 point whatever percent of your business is done for the year, you're behind. So then you have to up your activity next time to get going. And that's where this will all start to make sense. So the first week, you're just going to target your next week based off of what you did last week. And it's kind of a guess, because we don't know the numbers yet, right? Second week, we're going to look at, total it up again. Okay, I said I was going to do 50. Did I do 50? Yes or no? Hopefully the answer is yes. And then you're saying, did I get the results I wanted? And if you got the results you wanted, then schedule 50 next week. If you're like, I didn't get the results I want, then say, okay, well, what do I think it would take to get the results I want? And you can do some math on that, right? If you're like, you can divide it into the number of leads you got, and you can say, okay, I need more leads. And so you can figure out exactly how many calls based on the last 2 weeks it would take to get more leads. Or you can just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to jump to 55 this week. I'll do 11 calls a day and see if that works. There's a little trial and error, and then the law of averages will kick in. So first month, when we have 4 weeks and we do our first monthly review, and I'll do a call in right after the 1st of February, and I'll walk you guys through the monthly review. It'll be a pretty quick call, 15 minute call, 20 minutes if I ramble. So probably 20 minutes. And ultimately the law of averages will kick in, right? Because right now, when you're putting a closed transaction in, it's something you did last year, right? And now what you're doing is going to be a closed transaction that's going to be 30, 60, 90 days down the road. And so you just need to keep doing it so that the law of averages kicks in. And so I'm not going to spend too much time going through that piece, but you'll see it in there. You get to the end of the month and you'll total everything up. It'll walk you right through that piece. But the bottom line is that you're not going to really know what your number is for a month. And then after 2 months, you'll have a better idea of your number than you did after 1 month. And after a full quarter, you'll have even a clearer idea of, hey, this is what I need to do to get to where I'm going. And what we'll talk about as we get there as a community, and what I'll talk to you about is that let's pretend that you were going to do, let me pick a number I can do in my head. We're going to do 20 transactions this year. And so when we get to the end of the first quarter, hopefully we've done 5, right? To me, it's hard to put in seasonality, right? Some of you live where it's snowing right now and you can't do any business. And so you're going to do all your business in the summer, no business now. And that's fine. That's a different conversation than I'm going to talk about the law of averages. And so my goal is 20 a quarter. Hopefully I close a year. Hopefully I close 5 this quarter. And then if I did close the 5, I can say, okay, great. How is it looking? And I can look at what my numbers were to get those results. And then I'm just going to reschedule myself to be committed to the standard of those same numbers for next quarter. And then a half a year, hopefully I've done 10, or maybe I'm even ahead, and we'll keep adjusting. So I'll have more calls on that. So don't get stuck on that. Right now, what I care about is you start tracking today, that you get to the end of the week and you total up your week. That's all I'm asking. And then I want you to review your week, follow the tools. I want you to say, how did I do? Did I hit my numbers? Yes or no? If you didn't, why, right? Are you really committed to the number? Is that really what your goal is? I don't want you knocking your goal down. Oh, I was going to do 20, but now I'm only going to do 18. Well, I'd rather have you say, okay, I was going to do 20, I'm behind, and I'm going to kick some ass. I said ass a lot today. I'm going to kick some butt by working a little bit extra hard. I feel like I've had caffeine, but I really haven't. I am drinking an electrolyte though. So that's, but it's caffeine free. All right. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. I mean, I think that's the piece I want you to understand is you just have to start today. If you screw up today, then you got tomorrow. If you're like, oh shoot, I totally forgot that win by noon thing, then, and I didn't write anything down, your phone actually has in there who you called in text. So go back through there and see who you called. And if, it's got a black arrow going this way on my iPhone, I know I called that person. If it's got an arrow coming this way, I know they called me. So I can look at, okay, was that an outbound call and then a quality conversation or not, right? So you can rebuild your day when you mess it up. You might forget your planner at home. Me, I don't. I would drive around and go get it or see if someone else in my family could bring it to me. That's how much of a nerd I am. Or I guess you could write it on an old school piece of paper and then bring it home later. But that's best practice. Number one is carry it with you. I know it sounds really dumb, but when you carry it with you, then you've got it. So I literally have a backpack. I carry it around. People make fun of me, but in the end, the ideas come up at dinner and hang on the back of my chair. I whip it out and write a note down. It's not sitting with me on, getting in my way, but I've got it there because my wife will say, hey, did you call about those stereo speakers that we need in the new house? Nope, I didn't. Great. So now I can write it down and make sure that it happens. And so, so that's sort of the overall plan there. Now, the thing that I really find is that people are like, well, who the heck do you call, Todd? Like, how do I actually make that many calls? Because it's a weird thing. The more people you call and talk to, then the better. More people you call and talk to, the more likely you are to close more transactions, right? You all agree with me on that? I'm hoping the answer is yes. But then people say, who do I call? And then they say, well, what do I say? So let me run you through what I think is the ideal week. Because in the end, I had a real estate trainer say this to me once. He looked at this group of realtors, 50 of them, and he pointed at them all. You got in this business to set your own hours, and that is the exact reason that you fail. I was like, man, what a jerk. And then I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. I'm going to steal it. And so here's what I know. Holy smokes, I got a lot of windows open, but let me share this real quick. Sorry for the earthquake. Those of you who are on early, my stand-up desk is not standing up right now. And so therefore, I've got boxes on my desk. And so it's a little bit wonky. Okay, so I say this, if you own your week, you own your business and your life. And so I think you have to divide your week into 2 types of activities. And just kind of finishing up on that thought that you set your own hours. I mean, that's the beauty of this business. But in the end, if you truly want to run it like a business, you've got to set your own hours. Right. When I was when I worked in a bike shop, I, had to be there a certain time, and I had certain things I had to do before, I had to open up, unlock the bikes, wheel a certain bikes out front. I don't want to date myself, put the gumball machine out to hold the door open. And that was activities I had to do because it was required as part of my job. Some of you worked at McDonald's or Starbucks, and you have things you have to do. When we get in the mortgage business, real estate business, insurance business, you just, I don't feel like working today. I mean, I had an insurance agent tell me something once. I was appreciative. He's transparent. He goes, yeah, if I had a good week and it's 4 o'clock, I'm just going to kick off and go get a beer before I go home. I'm like, awesome. And then he said, but now I decided I'm going to grow my business. So if I get to the end of the week and I've had a good week and it's 4 o'clock, I'm going to figure out who are the 2 more people I can call to set appointments with for next week in order to grow my business for next year, right? Everyone's going to have their own way to approach it. But the bottom line is that we got to have a schedule. And so I call it an ideal week. Now, I call it ideal because there's nothing as a perfect. I hear people say, this is my perfect week. Well, there ain't no perfect week, right? There ain't no perfect anything. I don't even use the word ain't ever. I used it twice, ain't an ass. All right. This is being recorded and you guys are watching on YouTube later. 2 types of activities. Win by noon daily disciplines. Now, I didn't call this a daily activity. I called it a discipline. A discipline is something that you do day in and day out. It's a standard you're going to set for yourself. And then we're going to have target day activities. And the reason that we do this is because people say, Todd, well, who do I call, or why do I call people? And the target day is going to help you do this. Now, I created these based on what I thought was good for me, but it may not be the right days for you. And you might say, Todd, I'm already doing all of those or some of those, and I do it on a different day. Great. If it's working and you're doing it consistently, keep doing it on those days. Right? I mentioned this before. Here's that little thing, right? You're right here over there on the earth, and you're trying to get up here to the moon. And these are the things that are going to get you there. It's having these daily disciplines and these daily activities. And so the daily discipline for any of you in sales is calling leads, right? I don't care what you do, you've got to call leads. And, there's study after study I could quote, but you've got to call a lead in order for them to actually want to do business with you. And you got to follow up with them. It's just funny how that works. If you're a real estate agent, you better be calling your sphere. Now, again, real estate agents, you don't have to call your sphere every day. I would just divide it up and say, I'm going to call 2 people today. Or I'm going to call 3 people today. Or I'm going to call for 30 minutes today, however you want to divide it up. Or you could just say, you know what, I'm going to call 25 people a week, but I'm only going to do that on Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 9 to 11, right? However it works for you that you achieve the goal, do it. But I would just say break it down every day. Then if you're a loan officer, you've got to get your applicants who've applied, who haven't gotten a pre-qualification letter, over the finish line. Why do I say this? Because after coaching hundreds, if not thousands of loan officers, the biggest gap they all have is from application to pre-qualification, not from application to close, because they don't get their clients last tax return. They need to get the pre-qual letter out. And we know when they have that pre-qual letter, they're infinitely more likely to get the person over the finish line to qualify. And so that's a daily task until you get it, right? Target day activities, right? Something you do every day. It's kind of like if you're young, you probably did these, or if you're old like me, your kids did it. You had spirit days at school, crazy hair day, fuzzy pajama day at school, right? I've never had that stuff, although we did do it once at our office. And my team was actually on the great food truck race on Bravo because they came to our office that day on accident. We do this for efficiency and consistency, right? Think about this for a second. Why do we set up a schedule for ourselves? Because we're going to become more efficient and more consistent, right? We're more efficient because if I'm calling all of my buyers who are cash buyers or have a pre-qual letter, they're all labeled properly in my CRM, and I can just go in there and I can call those people, right? That makes me more efficient. Makes me more consistent because if I'm a loan officer and I tell my real estate partners, I'm going to call you every Tuesday with an update on your clients, then I'm going to do it, or I look like an idiot, right? Then I look like I lied. I didn't actually look like I did what I said I was going to do. And so you have to do that in order to make sure that you're following up on the commitments, that you're doing the things you're telling people that you do. And that's how you become more consistent, because once you tell people you're going to do it, they're going to do it. I'm training someone new on my team. And so yesterday I got on the phone and we did update calls. And guess what a real estate agent said? She said, oh yeah, I was wondering about something on the loan, but I knew you guys were going to call me on Tuesday, so I didn't call you. That's so great, right? Think about that. It's proactivity versus reactivity, right? If you're fielding calls at all hours of the day from your clients or your transaction partners, it's because they don't know what's going on because you haven't communicated to them. So this is that proactive communication that I talked about earlier. And so on Mondays, you're going to call your leads. If you're a realtor, you're going to call your sphere. And you could do that in any other business, financial advising. You could do it as a loan officer as well. Loan officers are going to get your clients across that gap as far as the, getting their pre-qual out. Then you're just really reviewing, right? If you're a real estate agent, maybe you've got an offer you need to submit. Maybe you've got an offer that you submitted that you need to follow up with the agent on. Maybe you had an open house and you got to follow up with some leads you met at the open house. If you're a loan officer, you should be calling your agent at the open house and you're going to ask them, how'd your open house go? Do you have any leads for me? If you're a loan officer and the real estate agent called, was taking out your client looking at houses over the weekend, you're going to call the client and the realtor to see if they found any houses. You're going to review your week. Like I said, you're going to add up your numbers, see how I did. What do I want to do different this week? Did I hit my goals? Was my activity enough to get the results I want? Do I have to increase my results this week? Am I behind from last week? I was supposed to make 50 calls and I only made 47. Let me make 53 this week. Did someone cancel an appointment that I want to set? All these things are things that you need to circle back on to make sure that you can launch your week. In fact, for me, this was my easiest, shortest day. Cleared my email and I went off, and then I was off to being proactive after I got all this stuff done. Because I basically was able to plan and commit for the week and get it launched. Tuesdays, guess what we're going to start with? Leads, Sphere if I'm a realtor or some other business that calls my Sphere, and then if I'm a loan officer, my loan applicants who haven't gotten a pre-qual letter yet to get them with the time. And again, it's a daily discipline. We're used every single day. What if my client says, stop calling me right now? Then I'm going to say, well, great, when should I call you? If it's a lead, right? I mean, again, they're going to tell you, and you're going to basically know that whatever your call schedule is going to be. For me, it was 7 calls over 2 weeks, called the first day, called in the afternoon, the first day if I got in the morning, second day, third day, and then every other day until I hit my 7 calls. Then I put them on once a month, really forever until they tell me to go in that they went and bought somewhere else. Real estate agents, on Tuesdays, you're going to do in-escrow update calls. So these are clients who are in escrow, buyers and sellers. Loan officers, you're going to do loan status update calls. Spoiler alert, yeah, you could do this some different day, but Tuesday was a great day. Some people want to do them on Fridays, but I think if you do it on Fridays, then it's a really long time after the weekend till next week, till people get it done. I know some people say I do it on the beginning of the week and I do it at the end of the week. If that works for you, knock yourself out. I think one day is enough. I think if you tell people when you're going to do it, you do it consistently. Tuesday's good because Monday's hard to get everything updated, and there's a lot of holidays on Mondays. And here's what you do, right? You're going to call your client. You're going to call the buyer's agent. You're going to call the seller's agent. Again, if you are the buyer's agent, you're just calling the other people, right? You're going to call transaction coordinators. It's great to keep every transaction coordinator in the loop. If you're a loan officer, it's a great source for future business. And then what you're going to say is, what's next? Hey, it's Todd Bookspan, it's your Tuesday update call. Hey, looks like your loan is in underwriting. It should be out by tomorrow. The appraisal's due on Thursday. And as soon as those things are in, well, as soon as you're pre-qualified or as soon as you're conditionally approved, we'll give you a call. What's next? Wednesday, leads, Sphere, loan applicants who haven't gone across the finish line. And we're going to protect our pipeline. Now, there's so much noise out there, right, on the internet right now, so much noise, right? We know it, right? They're all collecting data. So we're going to have to help our clients with this thing they have, which is called an internet addiction. Now, part of the way that I would scare clients out of internet addiction is say, be really careful. Just say, hey, I'm your real estate agent for life. You know what? I know you feel guilty calling me at 8 o'clock at night, and I prefer that you don't. However, I'd much rather have you call me to ask me about a property than to click that button to ask the listing agent a question. Because ultimately, when you do that, they are selling your data. And if you don't want your data sold, reach out to me, don't click that button. And by the way, it's not really the listing agent, it's just some other person who paid to have their picture there so that they could buy your data from that website. So you want to scare them a little bit, but my, hey, don't get your data sold thing works. So if I'm a real estate agent, I'm going to do my buyer and seller calls that are not in escrow, right? We're doing this to protect our pipeline because we know that in this narrow inventory market that we're in, they're like, well, that's really weird. I saw that other house that went for sale in that neighborhood that I'm trying to buy, and I've been looking in for 6 months. And you didn't send it to them because your MLS filtered it out because it didn't meet their criteria. It only had 2 bedrooms and they want 3, or, whatever. It had a galley kitchen and they want an open floor plan, whatever it was, but they still don't know that. So they're going on that internet and they're going to click that button. So you're just calling them to see how they're doing, right? They're not in escrow. You're giving your sellers updates, feedback on what the buyers are saying. If you're a loan officer, you're doing your pre-qualified clients just for the exact same reason. You're trying to keep them happy because we know if you don't follow up with them, they won't follow up with you, right? You can give them rate and market updates, super boring, but sometimes necessary. You can give them a loan program update, right? Lots of that with the end of last year when FHA and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac raised their loan limits. I think holiday calls are the best. And think about this. You could do this call today, even if you didn't talk to somebody before the New Year's, but you can ask them, how was your New Year's? What'd you do? Right? And if I did that call before New Year's, I'd be making a note in my CRM and I'd be calling them back and saying, oh, awesome. Hey, how was it when you took your daughter to Las Vegas for her birthday? Right? You would have these conversations, and ultimately it's the easiest one to have. And thankfully there's lots of holidays during the year. Just checking in, right? That's my best script. Hey, just checking in, how you doing? Right? loan officers, close your ears for a minute. You can remind them who their loan officer is, because if their loan officer is not using win by noon, they're probably not following up with them. And ironically, you loan officers can do the same things. It was amazing how many times when I was doing loans, the client would say, I haven't heard from my agent in a while. And so it's a great opportunity to fill your agent in. And then you're gonna tell them what's next, right? Again, that's what they want to know. If you tell them what's next, then they're gonna know to wait for you for whatever's next. You're going to call people who are buying within 30 days every week. People are buying within 60 days every other week. And someone who's buying out more than 60 days, you're going to call them every 3 to 4 weeks. Because again, if you don't follow with them, they won't follow with you. In Phoenix, we had things like the Phoenix Open, and we have spring training, and we have the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction. And people would come to that, and then they would apply for a loan. They wouldn't find a house while they were here, and they would come back the next year and buy. And it was amazing to me that because I called them at least once a month and checked in, that they would remember me and call me ahead of coming out to Arizona for their next year to come watch the Mariners play. And they would have forgotten who the real estate agent was because the realtor didn't follow up. And you're going to call these people till they buy or die. Thursday, leads, sphere, applicants who haven't got a pre-qual. And if I'm a real estate agent, again, because my clients have an internet addiction, and because they go online and think this is where the value is accurate, maybe not so much after the iBuyer thing blew up. You used to be able to get a cash offer there. There's still plenty of other websites that are offering them cash offers. You're going to do a real estate review. Again, I already mentioned CMA a day. Jump on my call next Monday. I'll talk more about that. But ultimately, you should be doing real estate reviews. You're the expert. You're the one who should be telling them how much their house is worth, not that website. If I'm a loan officer, I'm doing my partner calls. I'm calling my real estate agents to protect my weekend, right? How many times, okay, real estate agents, well, maybe you should listen to this. How many times loan officers did a real estate agent call you on a Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday and say, hey, I need you to qualify the Smith family. They just flew in. I had no idea they were going to be looking at a house. So you call the Smith family like, oh yeah, we planned this a month ago. You're protecting your weekend because you're asking them what they're doing this weekend, right? Are you working or are you playing? They're like, oh, I'm taking the Smith family out. I don't have them pre-qualified. Can I get their information? It gives you 36 hours to track down that application to protect your weekend. They need open house flyers, whatever it is, you can get it done. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to give them a client update, right? If I'm a loan officer and I just talked to their client yesterday, I'm going to give them an update. Hey, talk to the Jones family. They're really frustrated about the fact that there's not any properties. Sounds like you haven't talked to them in a while. Give them a call, right? You're going to talk about their weekend plans. Again, this will tell me what I have to do on Monday. If they're taking out the Smith family and I didn't connect with the Smith family yesterday, I'm going to put it in my planner on Monday to call the realtor and the Smith family to see if they found any properties of the weekend. If they say I'm doing an open house, then I'm gonna say, awesome. And then I'm gonna put in my planner on Monday for when I do my review and my launch to call the realtor to see how their open house went. Or maybe I'll even stop by and visit them. How fun would that be? Holiday calls, I already talked about that. Rate market updates, program updates, or just checking in. Again, you build relationship. That's how you get business. You're gonna call your best partners weekly. You're gonna call your next level every other week. You're gonna call everyone else every 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, we got to Friday, and then I'll answer the questions that I see piling up over here. We're going to call leads again. Can you believe it? We're going to call our sphere. We're going to call our loan applicants. And what are we going to do? It's just our weekly wrap up, right? I think this is really important, right? Who canceled an appointment I want to reschedule, right? What didn't I get done this week that I want to make sure gets scheduled for next week? If I'm a realtor, what am I doing this weekend that needs to be tied up in order for me to A, enjoy myself if I'm not working, B, maybe I have to get that route ready for the showings I'm going to have with my buyer. What do I need to do to get my open house ready, right? You're going to tie up any loose ends that you have. And if I'm a loan officer, because my clients have an internet addiction, I'm going to do annual mortgage reviews. Again, the same thing. They're all getting harassed. You should have a script around on your loan officer for life. You should be using Mortgage Coach to do a TCA. It's going to be the best way to do your annual mortgage review, easiest. But ultimately, in the end, your clients are counting on you to keep them in the lowest cost mortgage. And now more than ever, their servicer and all the junk mail that they're getting are trying to get their future loan, and that should be yours. You earn their trust in their business the first time. I want you to earn it again, and this is how you do it. I'll be talking more about annual mortgage reviews in upcoming calls, but that's all I got time to give you today. What about weekends? Weekends is up to you, right? You realtors, you work way harder than loan officers do. You work all the time. You insurance agents and financial advisors, I know you don't work weekends. I know loan officers, you're going to have calls during the weekends, and that's just, for better or worse, part of the way that it goes. But, in the end, I would hope that a lot of my real estate agent win by noon users are trying to take a day or two off during the week. I don't see too many 2 days off a week people. Maybe if you are, I'd love to hear from you and I'd love to interview you because of the fact that they're working on weekends, but they might say, hey, like Tuesday's my day off. And that's really cool when that happens. And sometimes that's still taking phone calls and, having to deal with that, but not setting any appointments for that day. Right. So my super script for that is I have a commitment at that time. So if it was me and a client said, hey, can I meet with you tomorrow morning at 9? I would say, I can't wait to meet. I have a commitment tomorrow at 9. Could I meet with you at 1? And they might say, no. Okay, well, how about, could we meet then on Friday at 1 or anytime in the afternoon? Nope, I can only meet in the mornings. Then you're gonna have to make that decision. What I found was it took 2 or 3 pushbacks. Okay, how about any afternoon next week? They pause. They say, oh, sure, I can do Tuesday afternoon. Every once in a while, someone says, Todd, I'm so important. I'm so busy. I can only meet with you in the mornings. Great. Then I have to decide, is that person important enough for me to push off my most important priorities and risk that I'm gonna get to the end of the day and they didn't get done by scheduling it. So I have a commitment at that time is what I found really worked. And so if I was gonna try to take a weekday off as a real estate agent, I would take like, hey, can you do the home inspection on Tuesday? I'd be like, you know what, I've got a commitment on Tuesday. Let's do it on Wednesday or let's do it on Monday, right? If you have a hot property that comes in the market, yeah, you might have to, make some adjustments there, find someone else to go show them the home. But ultimately, in the end, I want you guys to make sure that you're getting a little bit of you time in, right? Okay, so take a breath. Okay. Someone asked about the app. The app is the biggest frustration that I have. It's not out right now. Working with a new app developer and targeting to have it hopefully out by mid-year. And so maybe that's third quarter, who knows, but stay tuned for the app. I'm really excited when we get that going. It's really just going to be designed to total the numbers and do your conversion rates for you, but it's long overdue and I ignored it for the last year out of frustration. All right. I'm a new loan officer. Between app and pre-approval, if you talk to a client 10 times in 3 days, do you count all those calls? If I talk to the client once, if I talk to the client 10 times, like assuming I talk to him every single day for 3 days, I would personally count that 1 time each day. Because ultimately in the end, to me, it's really, in my mind, it's not how many calls do I have, it's how many people did I call and how many people did I talk to, not how many times did I talk to people. Does that make sense? And so I'm just looking for, if I'm talking to a client 10 times in 3 days, I'm going to try to figure out how to make that maybe 2 or 3 times in 3 days. Like, is there something I could have asked for better up front that I could have predicted that I needed, that I could have smoothed out my process? And then the other thing is that I would, but I would only count it once, because again, it's really what I'm trying to figure out is how many people do I have to talk to get a closed transaction? And I'm telling you, to me, it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, really think about that. If you knew your exact number. So after that guy got up at that conference and he said, you all fail because you set your own schedule, like that thing I said before. Next guy said, do you know what you need to do today in order to reach your goal at the end of the year? And again, everyone dropped their heads. No one wanted to make eye contact with him. And then he went on and said, this is how many people I have to call or text. This is how many people, this is how many, doors I have to knock. Like, he knew what that was that got him a closed transaction. And guess what? He's great. He's consistent. He does, because he knows his numbers, right? And like I said, so we're gonna establish our number, so then you'll know it, and then we're gonna commit to it as a standard, and then we're gonna do it. In the days where we don't do it, we're gonna brush that day off, and then the next day we're gonna make up for it. I had a guy, and he was the #1 producer in Arizona when I met him. His name is Mike Metz. He's kind of like semi-retired now, and his son runs his business. But Mike had a couple different things, and it's just funny because someone mentioned him, and it kind of brought back this old memory. And when I'd go sit with Mike in his office, he did a couple of things. One is, he said, I didn't go home until I got 3 applications. So he would sometimes stay like 7 o'clock at night to get that 3rd application. Now, for me personally, I'd be like, well, shoot, I don't want to work till 7. I want to get home and have dinner with my family. And then he also, for a while, had a clicker, like this old school clicker. You young people don't know what it is, but it was like this little silver thing, and he clicked it, and it had like some, they would have like a baseball, park when you go in there, click how many people come in the front door of the baseball park, or get on a ride or whatever it is. And he would make sure he talked to 10 people a day, like 10 quality conversations. That was his number. Well, he's the freaking #1 producer. Why? Because he had numbers. He knew he had to get 3 applications. He had to talk to 10 people. He was pig-headed about it. And he said, as long as I did that, I clicked that clicker off on my thing. Well, guess what? You got it right here. You don't need a clicker. You got it right here in your planner. You just have to figure out what your number is. And so you just have to invest the time. There's going to be some frustration. It could be overwhelming. There's no perfect, right? I didn't get in the nitty gritty of the end of the week things and how to fill it all out, because you may not fill it out. Like, I don't use the project planner right now in my planner, right? Why? Because I got other projects going on. I'm using Evernote, and I'm tracking my projects in there. I use the idea list, and that's how the projects get going, right? So everyone's going to have their different way that they do things. But if I only had 1 or 2 projects going, I would do that, right? I've got 1 or 2 projects going for each of my businesses and everything that I've got going on. It is exactly 2:00 my time. That is exactly 1 hour. Any other questions that you have before I kick you all off to get you guys out there to be productive? So here's the last thought. So just a couple of reminders. Number one is you're going to struggle at first. And what I commit to you is that if you actually are focused on just doing your best every day, that after a couple of weeks, you're going to be like, oh, now I got this. Number two is when you total up your numbers and we get there and we figure out what your number is, you're going to think, holy smokes, this is exactly why I'm doing this. This is awesome. If that's not exciting to you, then you're just going to use everything else and think that's absolutely awesome. I would love to see you on my Monday calls. If you go to winbynoon.com/calendar, you can jump on my Monday calls at noon Pacific. If you are interested at any point in sharing your experiences as a real estate agent, loan officer, financial advisor, I'm looking for people to interview. Some of you I know are pros and you're on this call again, let me know. We'll jump on that call, but it's gonna be a great call. We're gonna really talk week in and week out about something around productivity, 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what's going on. And then lastly, if you're a loan officer, especially you newer loan officers, but really any loan officer, jump on next Wednesday at noon. Top 3 ideas I have for growing your business next year. And I promise you one of them won't be Monday. All right, so what is the Monday call versus the Wednesday calls? Are you talking about so Monday is really just planning your day, right? That's planning, reviewing, and launching your week. So there's really not calls on Mondays other than lead calls, database, or client calls. Tuesday, real estate agents is in escrow calls. So it's people who are in escrow. In fact, if anyone wants it, if you email me, we did this once. It's kind of wrinkled because I just literally found it in a pile on my desk. But we did these ideal week things. They're actually in the Win by Noon user mastermind group on Facebook. I forgot to plug that. If you're not part of the Win by Noon user mastermind group on Facebook, go to it. But these are in there. It's actually the whole rundown of what I just told you for realtors and loan officers. Webinar. Someone's referring to the webinar. Sorry, those calls, that kind of call. Sorry, I called them calls too. Monday is going to be an ongoing Monday call. And Monday will be the day of the week where I will be talking to all people in sales, mainly typically loan officers and real estate agents, people in those fields. And it's really just going to depend on whatever I choose to talk about. Typically, I'm going to either ask you guys what you want to have me talk about. I'm going to invite a guest on, or I'm just going to choose something that through all my other conversations with people came up as something that's important for me to talk to, right? I'm talking to a lot of you right now. And when you guys are telling me where you're struggling, I'm going to create calls around those struggles. So Monday is going to be all around something Win by Noon related and productivity related. And it'll be real estate or loan officer focused, but mainly it'll always be a little bit of both. Could be more real estate agent focused, but that's good for loan officers as well. And then Wednesdays is going to vary, right? So this week it was my launch Wednesday. Next week it is an intro for new loan. It's a top 3 ideas for loan officers to grow and thrive next year. If someone wants to co-host one for real estate agents on that, I would totally do it. I just don't know necessarily what those top 3 ideas are. I could probably guess and come up pretty close. And then I don't have one for the following Wednesday, but at some point we'll get those going. My goal really is to do, a minimum of 1, if not 2 calls every week. Someone's asked about accountability challenge. You know what? Our accountability challenges on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being that they were super awesome, were all about a 2. And I think that they were all about a 2 for a couple of reasons. So I think the short answer is I'm not planning on it, but I could be talked into it. I tried different ways of getting people to engage, and I found that people didn't want to engage in it. I mean, I would love to have a thread every day, every week in Win by Noon where people get in there and write their numbers. Even if they didn't write their numbers, it's like, hey, I totaled my numbers. I would love a day where people commit and say, I did a TCA or I did a CMA. Like, I'd love that. Here's what I found historically. I met a guy and he runs challenges for real estate agents in Canada. And he said, yeah, I tried to do it all the time, Todd, until I started charging money for it and having a prize at the end. I didn't get people to stick with it. And that's really the problem I found, is I think because it was a free thing, people are like, well, I didn't pay anything. I can just do it today and never do it again. And so I think that's the challenge. So, you know what, if you haven't figured out, I'm pretty transparent and a little goofier today than usual. Not quite sure why, but probably because the call I had before this ran almost 2 hours. I thought it was like a 30-minute call, and it ran for 2 hours on Zoom. And so I was a little bit, I did eat lunch, thankfully, before I ate a late breakfast, I guess, before I hopped on the call with them. But they're great people. And it actually was, like I say, really good prep for this conversation. And so, ultimately the bottom line is this, right? You have an opportunity here in the first week of the year. It's why I love teaching this one. Like, if I teach it in the end of like the beginning of the fourth quarter, it's just not quite as fun. Like people aren't, you're either going to hit your goals by that point or you're probably not. You have the year ahead of you right now, right? You've got the opportunity to make the choice today to be laser focused throughout the year, right? Doesn't mean I want you to work 365 days this year. I want you to take some time and have that time too, but you can be laser focused. You can figure out for the days you're going to work, what are the activities you need to do? And if you do those activities, you can not guarantee, but you can almost guarantee hitting your goal at the end of the year. The way you guarantee hitting your goal is that each month you review, each month you see if you're on track, and then you adjust to make sure that if you're falling behind, you increase the activity to make sure that you stay on track to hit that goal. And the bottom line is that I'm committed to you reaching that goal, whatever you believe it to be, right? In the end, it's all about you. It's not one size fits all, right? Someone may have to call 10 people today and someone may have to call 30 people today. But I just know this. I know if you can get excited about it, if you're committed to it, if you don't get frustrated and flustered when you have a bad day and you just get up the next day and you give it, I know you'll get there. And that's the fun thing for me. I see it over and over again. I have people who I've talked to this week who are like, I used Win My Name 2 years ago and I haven't used it since. I stunk at it then, and they're jumping back in. I got people who I talked to this week who said, gosh, I've been using it for a year. It's been the greatest game changer in my life. I've got people who said, yeah, I've been using it for a year and I didn't use it as good last quarter because it was so busy and I took a bunch of vacations and I'm committed to using it now. Whatever your story is, live it, right? Live it the way that you want to live it. And then we'll have this conversation down the road and you'll be really, really grateful that you took the time. So on that note, I'm grateful that you're all here. I'm grateful that I'm part of the community. If there's anything I can do, Todd@winbynoon.com. I appreciate you and I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.